Hey. All right, welcome to episode 1, officially, of Gloves and Roses. Compared to our pilot episode, we did a lot of upgrades, obviously. But I guess that I just wanted to walk into this and start off the conversation with one of my friends is 34 years old, and she is going into Army boot camp in September. So first thing, I just had to say, like, that's impressive, man. To anybody that goes into the military, you have some grit and guts that a lot of us don't have. And so just thank you for your service, and thank you for being willing to do the things that so many of us are not, to make those sacrifices for us and our freedoms. But yeah, dude, 34 years old, like the discipline to even get to that point and to decide that you want to serve your country is like, I don't know, I don't think I have a discipline to do that.
Well, do you though? Because discipline can be a lot of different things. I think you have discipline just in different areas because you're successful at a lot of things, and discipline is mandatory for success. Mm-hmm. But I understand where you're coming from when it comes to discipline in the physical aspect. Yeah,
I think, okay, for example, going to the gym. That's obviously not something that I'm the most consistent at doing. And this might sound like a, paranoid tangent, but I think that if you keep a routine, that it almost, if someone sees you going in and out of your house every single day, like, they'll know when to rob you, like, they'll know when to, like, you're at your weakest points because your guard's down because of your routine. But that's beside the point. I think that just, especially the discipline of going to the gym every day, that is challenging. And I think that obviously, like, anything that takes discipline, you have to have a love-hate relationship with. And so it's really hard, I think, whether it's going to the gym, going to work, going to school, whatever you're pursuing, you have to, like, love that pain a little bit. So,
I agree. Yeah, I think the word discipline comes, like, when you talk about discipline, sometimes you think about, like, well, oh no, I did something bad, my parents are going to discipline me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's pain with discipline for sure.
Do you think that, like, okay, so interesting tangent now. Do you think that discipline has a tie to happiness? Like, is there a direct association between the more discipline you have in your life, the happier you'll be?
I honestly think so. Because I think one of the things that makes you happy in life is knowing that you got to where you're at because you put in the work.
Facts.
Like, there's like this whole, like, I deserve to be this happy. Or I deserve to be this fit, or I deserve this raise because I worked so hard at it, and now I'm being acknowledged, and now I'm being validated.
Earning something definitely feels a lot better than just being given it.
Yes, absolutely.
But then it's like, do you think that, like, the natural state of when we're born into this world, do you think that we're just naturally born into pain? Or is it just a matter of perspective, like there is enough relief and validating pleasures out there to balance out the pain? Or what's that skill look like? Like, are you supposed to be able to just bear with the pain and not, you know what I'm saying?
I think, like, with anything, like, just, working at everything hurts at first, I feel like. And so just being consistent at something, and the discipline is honestly the mind and the heart, in my opinion. Because when you stay focused and you really, like, the desire of your heart is really to be good at something or reach a goal, that you're really focused on doing that. And then when you get to that goal, of course it makes you happy because you know you worked your ass off for it.
Yeah. So, definitely, like, achievement is something that fuels, like, human happiness.
Absolutely.
That has been shown for it. Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, achievements. I'm like, because I think it's cool, like, David Goggins, or just anybody that pushes themselves physically, whether it's to do, like, an amateur competition, a fight. Like, I think that competitiveness, to want to measure yourself in a physical way, I don't have that. And I admire people that do, because it's freaking impressive, because there is something that's happening in their mind and in their heart at the same time. Like, right. Your body is physically in pain. Like, David Goggins running, like, 100-mile marathons, like, crazy. I wouldn't even run a 5K. Like,
I wouldn't either. And I'm just going to tell you that right now. Like, yeah,
it's different. Like,
it's different.
And it's just
definitely,
like, how do you entertain yourself running for like 100 miles?
Well,
Like, you clear your mind. Like,
I think that is again, it comes with the desire.
Yeah.
So, I will speak personally. I hate running and I hate jumping rope. Like, skipping rope and running are the two of my most unfavorite things to do. You know, I've been doing Muay Thai for 16 years. Those things are imperative in fight camp, in training. I hate it.
yeah.
But I think what pushes someone to do something they don't like is to be good at something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that, like, I think, in my opinion, again, I will say, a lot of people, when they like something, they're like, oh yeah, I like this. And they work at it and they're just kind of like, okay, I did it. And then they're done.
Yeah.
Like, there goes the end of discipline.
I think that, yeah, and I think there's a difference too that makes it like really tough is, like, are they doing it because like they actually like care about it and they want to be the best at it? That's where I think that the line starts to divide, as like, it's really hard to be the best in something. And I think that once you realize like how big the range of competition is in anything, you start to, you know, shy away from like, oh, I'll never be the best at it, so why even compete? And you know what I mean? It's really hard to be the best in anything. Like, it's hard to be, even in business, a lot of people kind of shy away from how they can really grow in that next level, or like physically, like there's just a lot of competition.
You know, you just said something that hit me right in the heart. Because when it comes to like business and stuff like that, I definitely have well, I'm not really good at it, so it is what it is. But then when it comes to something physical, for example, Muay Thai, you know, it's like, I want to get this move done, or I want to grow my class, or I want to do something. There's that extra motivation that requires extra discipline, that requires extra focus. That excites me. But the business aspect about, you know,
Taxes,
growing your class, like all that stuff, it gets a little kind of by the wayside for me.
Yeah.
So I guess it really is where your interest peaks, right?
Right.
But yeah, discipline, I guess discipline is a perspective thing, in my opinion.
Facts.
Facts and opinions, that's all we do here at Gloves and Roses.
I know that you wanted to talk about music, and I feel like that's, like, I had no idea in what context we would even, like, talk about music.
Music. On my drive over here this morning,
Okay.
I was thinking that would be a great topic to throw in, because I was thinking that when you walk around and you see people, or you get to know people, you kind of look at them and, well, I do, because I'm a very, like, music, I can't believe I'm even saying this. I love music so much, more than Muay Thai. The only thing that I don't love music more than is my kids and my man.
Yeah.
But other than that, like,
so
music,
like, this is the kind of messed up what if situation. So you have your husband and your family, or you never listen to music again, or you can only listen to music but you'll never have your family. What would you do?
I'll pick my family, because that
would be a maddening existence, dude.
We would just sing to each other, and I have the most entertaining kids.
No music. No music.
But that's a good question. A really, really, really close friend of mine, we were training one day, and she's one of my music soulmates, or we call each other that. She had said to me, I rather go blind. If I had to pick, if you could be blind or deaf, which would you be? And she goes, I'd rather be blind. And I was like, me too. Just because, like, first of all, when you lose one of your senses, all the other senses get heightened. And don't get me wrong, I've seen enough. So, but I wouldn't be able to live without music. Like, of course I'd want to see things, but if I had to lose one of my senses between sight and sound, I'd rather be blind and deaf as well. Just because
Damn, dude.
That's how much music fills my soul.
That's tough. That's really tough. But no, because like I kind of feel that, but then at the same time, it's like I think of Beethoven, and like he made that work for him, and it's like okay, so like the fact that when he lost his hearing, he would lay next to his piano. He cut off all the legs on this piano. He put it on the wooden floor of this. I think he was living in a church at the time, but he laid it down and he would just listen to the vibration, so that way he could memorize the tone and vibration of every key, and that's how he wrote the Fifth Symphony, which is amazing. There was even this thing on Ancestry that shows you like your genetic traits, like if you're a morning person, if you like naps or not, like and it's things you wouldn't expect to kind of be built into your genetics. But one of the pieces was, do you have rhythm? And I did not think that rhythm was something that could be in your DNA. So what it showed though is that like there's kind of like an early awareness in the womb of like the baby able to hear its own heartbeat. And yeah, there's a point where it can hear its own heartbeat. When I was reading this is what I understand it to be. So you can correct me in the comments. I embrace criticism. But that's what I had like seen is like I think that like people are born with music. Like it's kind of like the vibration and also the sound of it. Like it's two different components, right? It's like when you're listening to music in your car, it feels so different than listening to it in your earbuds, because it's like you need like, like the bass against like your thigh. It's a totally different sensation.
You're right. Music is different when you feel it.
Yeah.
Like
it's a feeling.
I proudly like went to my first rave last year. I'm not going to say how old I am.
Yeah, it's all good.
Raves are past I should have been doing that long time ago. But I think for me, like, just feeling the music is a whole different experience than just listening to it on my phone.
Yeah.
So I agree. I agree that babies in the womb, I think that is something born, because I've had this conversation with multiple friends, and we were talking about, did you know that there's actually people that don't give that don't care about music? Yeah,
oh yeah, I remember you mentioning that to me, and that just like...
And that's absurd to me. It's so absurd, but I
they exist.
Know people.
Their DNA is different. That's just, and it is a wildly different like lifestyle, right? It's because like music's built into our pop culture also.
Yeah.
It's like how we think, how we connect. Like when people say that, you don't have to be able to communicate across languages, you can just play instruments together, and like that's all the communication you need type of thing. That's wild. I mean, it's just a totally different
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine life without music.
But then it's like the wiring in their brain has to be different too, right?
Yeah,
so they
absolutely.
So the level of fulfillment that we find in music has to exist for them, you would hope, exists for them somewhere else in the brain. But it's interesting, like, what those, like, where could those sources be?
Yeah.
Like, is it numbers? Like, are those people who are, like, hedge fund managers? Like, they don't listen to music all day? Or, like, are they, what?
It's got to go somewhere. I think there's got to be a balance. Like, it's got to go somewhere.
Right.
Like, first of all, let's go back to why we even talked about music in the first place, because this is such a vast... we can talk for weeks and weeks on end about music. But I think the whole reason why we brought this up is because when I was driving over here, I was thinking about, like...
Oh, yeah, when you're driving over here.
Why, like, when somebody looks at someone, I think that if you're a music person, you look at somebody and you're like, that person looks like a country.
Oh, like you stereotype people by their genre.
Yeah, it's really weird. So, like, and then I was thinking to myself, I wonder what people think I like. Because I did have a conversation with a student in the gym one day, and I had gone to a concert one weekend, and I put it on my Instagram story. And this student specifically was like, Coach, where'd you go this weekend? And I told her where we went, and she was like, I did not expect that from you. Not that it's bad, because I love everything, but I just didn't picture you to be, in this case, it was an extremely hardcore, hard rock concert.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was funny because I was like, so what do you, and that made me think about, like, when you see somebody, what what do you think? Like, where does the stereotypes come in? Because when I look at you,
yeah.
let's get down to
Okay, that'll
this.
be fun. Okay, what do you think I like to listen to most, Coach?
Not knowing you, I'd say alternative.
Okay. Dude, so I worked in a fine dining restaurant, and shout out to manager Mike. But he turned to me one day and he's like, Rose, I think you're the type of girl that'd be listening to like the Carpenters and the Mamas and Papas. And I was like,
I can see that though.
What the fuck do you mean? I was like, I like Fleetwood Mac. Like, like it's like barely above the Mamas and Papas. But like, I like after time I realized like, oh, he's saying like I'm a gentle person, but it sounds like housewife music at the same time. But it's funny because it's like depending on what traits you see in people is the kind of music that you would associate them with. Because like now that I'm older, I have like an edgier look. You'd think that I'm more alternative. With you, no offense, but like you kind of look like a mom. So just off of that, if I didn't know you, I would think you're probably into like Katy Perry and like just the general Apple Top 100 playlist. Like that's what I would.
No offense taken,
right.
Because yeah, today's hit list or whatever it is on Apple Music, today's whatever. Yeah, I listen to that sometimes, but I think it's funny when I talk about the music I like. It's so vast because I grew up playing classical music. I played piano starting at 5, so I can listen to it. But everything is a mood, right?
Yeah,
so like
facts.
It depends on how I'm feeling. Summers, I'm a country girl. And
everybody's
like, you listen to country? I'm like, you better frickin' believe it. Like, I'm a Morgan Wallen right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even when I first started listening to... I used to hate country music. But then I started listening to country music a lot in probably like 2013, 2014. And then I got into Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean and Eric Church, Thomas Rhett. Like, I was getting into a lot of this country stuff because country music resonates with me because I love outdoors and summertime. And so country music...
It's definitely like a vibe.
It's definitely a
like,
vibe.
Like, it's totally like, culturally, what country is focusing on is a different focus than what, like, rap music is focusing on. Like, it captures a culture in a different way. I think
absolutely.
That it is. Like, I was just, the Dirty Boots, Dirt on My Boots. Might have a little dirt on my boots. I was listening to that all morning long, but it's just like I feel like country is nice and relatable because like when you talk about like hard work, it's like motivating. But then at the same time, some people like to listen to like techno if they're doing hard work. Like I would not listen to country at the gym. Like that is not music that I would feel like I'm going hard to country today or like.
So that's a good point.
Yeah.
So what do you listen to at the gym? Like for me, when I'm doing cardio, I like to listen to EDM.
I'm
a lot of like Dom Dalla. Like
no,
I'm into like EDC rave music when I'm doing cardio. But when I'm lifting weights, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not really I don't like doing weights.
Yeah.
I just know I have to do it. But I'm more like hard rock, like Bring Me the Horizon type of person. Like I need to have to listen to like almost screamo, almost, but not quite screamo. Like
I feel like for me, I never got into the screamo space just because I don't have an angry bone in my body. Like fortunately and unfortunately, and it's like, and I appreciate the art of it though, because it's like that's impressive. Like there's obviously like a handful of screamo songs that are just good songs. Like you can't dispute. Like, it may not be your taste, but it's still a good song. But I feel like for me, I just never, like, delve too deep into it because I'm like, I can't understand what you're singing about.
Screamo is not my favorite thing. I think for me, like...
Just even, like, hard... I don't know, hard rock starts to span, though, because it's, like, a lot of times, even if it's hard rock, they're talking about, I love you so much, my heart's broken type of, you know.
Oh, that's the kind of hard rock you listen to?
Isn't that what they're all about?
No,
what are they talking about? Like murder? Like what?
Well, yeah. Hard rock is like, what did Ollie Sykes say on his last album? It's Sometimes I feel like I want to make love to a chainsaw. That kind of stuff.
Damn.
Yeah, that's pretty hard. There was a time where you would like, mobile phones were what they're called, mobile. So you take it in a bag and you go into your car and you plug it into.
Dude, I remember they had cars
lighter.
with phones. I've seen the cars with phones. I was like,
But
what?
it still had a cord.
Yeah, but I just didn't understand how it worked.
You
Like,
plug it into your lighter.
but wasn't it? Where's the signal coming from? Is it like radio? It must have been like
See,
that, right?
this is
It's
why I
like your
call-
whole car was the first cell phone.
This is
That
why I
was-
call you Professor X, because I would never think about that.
I had no idea
I
how
don't
it
know
worked.
where the frickin'.
And now we have Wi-Fi from our cars, right?
You ever
That's
wonder
nuts.
you ever wonder about Bluetooth, if your brain is frying when you're sitting in your car because you're Bluetoothing your music from your phone?
And then they have
into-
little like earbuds in.
You know, and at this point, live your frickin' life, man. I don't care.
I mean, but it's kind of like the whole conversation of like microwaves, Bluetooth, and it's just like they're like technology at some point. Like a lot of technology is based off of like waves because it's like energy, like, and that's how you measure it.
Scary.
But different levels of energy are like not harmful to human beings.
How do you know
what
that,
I'm saying?
though? Let's skip to this
I mean,
subject.
I mean, who? Wait, who? Oh, no, I'm gonna sound ignorant. It was Marie. It was the French woman who died of Marie. It starts with this. There's a C somewhere in her name. I will find this and I'll post
Marie
it in the
Callender's?
description.
Did she
No,
spell
no, and she died from us. Madame like Yuri, something like
Puree.
Fuck.
Did you say she died for us? What did she? Jesus
She
Christ?
did. No,
Like-
so she was the one who kind of like did the most research behind radioactive like wavelengths, and so she was the one who was one of the first people to die from radio wave poisoning.
She didn't. She did too much research or not
Madame
enough.
Yuri. It's gonna freaking. I'm
You
gonna
know
remember
what?
it. I'm gonna remember this.
She's gonna find the clip and post it.
Yeah, I will. I can't believe I forgot her name. She died for us.
She died for
She
our
died for
sins.
knowledge. No, but it's a worthwhile pursuit. Anyway,
She died for us too. Microwave burritos.
We can do a whole deep dive. We'll do some research on microwaves. Or we bring on like a physicist. We need like a local physicist or like
Oh my god.
energyist.
How about Ed Nye the Science Guy? Is he still alive?
Bill Nye?
Bill Nye. Chill.
Ed Nye? Who's Ed Nye?
Edna Mole.
Dude, the other day I called Dave Ramsey Gordon Ramsay and I was like, fuck.
Dave Ramsey
Wrong-
and Gordon Ramsay should be friends.
wrong industry. They
Because
should
you know
be.
what? Gordon Ramsay would be more... He's already successful, but think about the financial success.
Be like, I'll
with Dave
cook for
Ramsey.
you handle my money, mutual exchange.
Yeah, let's do it.
They have to be like cousins. When we deviated so far from what we were originally talking
You're
about.
right.
Oh, no, but I did the voicemails. But now what's even crazier is that they actually have it, you know how there's so many like voice recognition audio softwares that exist? Now Apple has it where if you call and leave a voicemail, you can read their voicemail on your screen as they're leaving it. I find that to be such a trip, but it's like it's a good and bad thing, right? Like people that are running businesses that are trying to like market, they're obviously going to be like, it's a marketing call, like whatever. It's a debt collector. It makes it that much harder for them. Like there's pros and cons for it, but yeah, I just think that it's like wild, dude, like how fast technology is changing. And I think that because it's like they talk about that there's this point with technology where you hit like a hyper rapid like growth, right? Like I think the Industrial Revolution, like when we discovered like coal can create like steam powered things, we created steam powered everything. And now everything's electricity and like totally moving away from like diesel and fossil fuel like resources. But I think that like with like the technology that's just going to keep like accelerating, I think what it's causing for like our psychology, because humans aren't used to like having this many new things, so much progress. Like, you know, when they talk about like kids watching TikToks, like your attention span's getting shorter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that it's also showing like in our adult consumer habits too, right? It's like we like so much diversity that it's like really hard to like stick with one thing. So going back to music, it's hard to be into just one genre because like there's so many good artists out there too. Like there's so many more so much more that you can consume, and that's kind of like the American magic.
Yeah,
So much to consume.
Diversity. If you don't have it, then what a boring person. However, a conversation with a really good friend, and we were talking about she was at work and somebody at work was talking about, this is so and so and he's been here for 30 years, And in her brain, she was like, 30 years? And she was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't imagine being somewhere for 30 years. It's like I'm being trapped.
Yep.
And I was kind of like, well, like so I'm in advertising, specifically outdoor advertising. And I started when I was 18 years old. And I've been in advertising for almost 30 years, like over 30 years, let's just say that. And my first job was 13 and a half years. And for me, I think it's my personality. And it could be because I'm also one of those people that's like, if it's working for me, I stick with it. It's a stability thing. So like, to me, 30 years, I was like, God dang, that's a good job. But she was like, I can't even imagine.
For sure.
Being trapped.
There is like definitely two totally different ways of like just looking at like working anywhere for 30 years. And like, I remember when I had to hand my 2-week resignation letter over to my boss who had been employed at this company for like over 30 years. He was like, his response was like, I honestly have to say like, I have to be, I forgot what he said, like just be encouraging of like, I encourage you to do this because I've been working in the same industry with like, basically the same people for over 30 years. He's like, I never really tried to do anything else. And he's just like, but you should try. And so I think that for somebody that has such a drastically different experience with like work professionally, it's really hard to like want to take that advice, but it's also like, it's worth the risk to like make a jump. So, and that's how we look at it. But I feel like maybe there was like economic circumstances too that like you experienced that kind of made like an entire generation perceive like job switching as being something that was not necessarily positive.
Exactly. It's just like, kind of like resumes should be 1 page. But nowadays, like with this generation, it's like if your resume is 3 pages, not a bad thing. And I'm like,
no, still 1 page. Ain't like if you're sending people 3 pages, ain't nobody got time for that.
I don't.
Like,
and honestly, well, okay, let's rewind because now I'm showing my age. But so for me, yes, I was in advertising for 18 years. And my response to that conversation was basically like, but at this job, I bought a house. I was 23 when we bought our house.
Nice.
Granted, I had 2 kids and was married already. So, like, I was living like a 40-year-old life.
Yeah.
But this job sustained that. And just for the record, I get it. If I was a file clerk for 30 years... I would ask you to slap
something
me.
That's repetitive.
Yeah. But there was growth. And so, like, I started I really came to this job because it was 9 to 5. I was already a mom. And they were like, we need a file clerk. And they paid more than Lady Foot Locker. So it was kind of like, when you're 18 years old, you're looking for something more than, like, $6.25 an hour. I'm dating myself. But anyway,
that's wildly different.
$6.25 an hour as an assistant manager. Think about that, guys.
Dude, I remember, but like the standard now for just like hiring people is so different too.
Absolutely.
Like when you start
wage.
I think it depends what the state you're in. Like I think that California just raised theirs to like $20. Yeah, $20 minimum wage in Cali. I think that here is still 15 or 12, something in that range. I don't know. But anyways, like, the standard is so different. So, like, when I was working my internship, I was in my early 20s, like, maybe, like, 23. I was doing my internship, and there was a girl that came in to do an interview, and she was wearing leggings, and that was, like, instant fire. Like, that standard still exists. But then also, like, now the story is that 25% of like Gen Z or something, there was an article that came out, 25% of Gen Z have been showing up to job interviews with their parents. Can you imagine, dude?
I saw that.
Can you imagine? Like, I could
Step
not.
Brothers. It's like, hello.
Be like, my mom says.
Mom, how do I answer that question?
Mom, what are my best traits? What am I good at? What am I bad at?
That's freaking nuts to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I get it. It's a different generation. But bringing your mom into your job, if she's not going to work the job with you, and I'm not against that. Me and my daughter worked together at the same agency.
Yeah, and I worked with my dad too, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in like my professional career. Like, granted, I was just a lifeguard, but it was still like an awesome experience to just be anywhere that my dad worked.
You know, my daughter is fun. It's funny. My daughter worked with my husband too.
Okay.
And
was that just as positive?
it was a different
Different type of
type of experience because it was retail.
Right, so it's not necessarily like the relationship with him. It's more just like that actual.
They were different stores,
place.
but like.
Oh, okay.
But like, and that's a whole nother subject on how do you work with your mom and how do you work with your kid and not like get that interrupted. But anyway, what were we talking about?
We were
talking about experiences and
Interviews
and parents.
Yeah. Thanks,
producer Saley. So interviews with your parents, I still think that like that in itself is crazy to me because like it ain't like your mama's gonna be over there doing your job.
Right.
So why the hell would you bring your mama into this?
Right.
Your mama got no business in this.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is just like you have to sell yourself.
Yeah,
that's part of the whole thing.
It also,
it's like that's a life skill.
I'm gonna get killed for this comment, but it also shows the difference in generations with the dependency. Because like,
but is that really the kid's fault, or is that like because
or is it the parents' fault?
Exactly,
it could be.
And if you're trying to get a job at like 16 or even 15 years old, I think that. You know, a lot of that does come from, like, the parents and, like, maybe, like, the environment. Obviously, I'm not a parent, so I ain't trying to sell nobody for nothing.
Absolutely. I think that it's a two-way street.
I mean, it's like, but at a certain age, right? Like, when you're the one who wants to go out and get a job, it's like you do have to have certain features about yourself to show that you are ready to work in a workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Right.
I just still think it's crazy to me that you would bring your... I just can't. Yeah. I keep thinking about that movie Step Brothers. And
yeah,
like 2 tuxedos, and they're like, "Hello, Miss Lady." Like, you know, like, why?
Dude, Will Ferrell. Oh, I love him.
I spoke to somebody on the phone from work who told me that her neighbor is Will Ferrell's mom. And
what a gift!
She literally told me that she named her daughter after the movie Elf. Her daughter's name is Jovi.
Oh.
And she said that Will Ferrell's mom brought over some Will Ferrell signed stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
And even, like, there was, like, an Elf book.
Yeah.
And, like, Will Ferrell, like, signed it. And she signed something that was like, happiest of holidays, love Will Ferrell's mom. But like,
that's really cool.
I think Will Ferrell is so funny.
He is, but I feel like he's also such a good person, and it's like I don't know like that much about him, but from what I have seen, like he seems like very engaged with his son who's at college.
Yes.
I love that.
I love watching the posts of that. Like the son's like, when your dad, like there was a reel where his dad was like DJing. Will Ferrell was DJing like a whole ass.
The fact that went like that was trending.
Yeah,
like, he's a cool dude. Like just for the fact that how he treats his family. Like I don't know the rest of him. Like I know everybody's flawed, but that's cool.
I'm a family woman, so like he dressed up as like a page or something like that for like his son's prom or something like that.
That's funny.
But Will Ferrell's definitely in the books for one of the funny guys that I watch all the time. Shout out to Will Ferrell. Love our podcast. But yeah.
I mean, to be a comedian kind of like gets me scared though, because like first of all, it's definitely an art form. Some people are like naturally funny. We know a few of those. No, same. But I think that like that's also it. Like I always feel like comedy's associated to pain. You know what I mean?
I think. You know what is sad that you're bringing this up? I think everything's associated to pain.
True.
Because
it's a huge motivator.
I think you have to have a yin and a yang. So there's black and white for everything. Like, how do you know what's bad if you don't know what's good?
Yeah.
How do you know what's a great experience if you've never had a bad one? So I think everything is associated to pain because you have to have that like measurement system.
Right.
In anything that you do. Like I last night I was scrolling through TikTok because, I'm trying to do my reels for like, promoting my women's class, right? So I looked up like journeys, fitness journeys and Muay Thai journeys, right, on TikTok. And there was one of our reels came up, by the way, too. I thought that was super cool. Follow okg.girls on TikTok. But a lot of the like reels that went crazy, or the TikTok videos that went crazy, were like progression. So it's like you didn't get to this, and then there's some badass like fighter if you didn't go through this, and then it was like dude couldn't like break a toothpick. You know what I mean? Like, so again, what we measure good and bad, there has to be like bad to know what good is.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like pain is associated with everything.
Okay, so I need you to hang with me because this is going to be like a hell of a tangent thought. But, like when we kind of talk about like the yin and yang of like there's like always like the two sides of pain and like, like not necessarily like pleasure. I don't necessarily think that pleasure is the opposite of pain, but I think that like maybe like relief and peace is the opposite of, and pain doesn't have to be something that's like, it could be like a dull pain where it's like it's like growing pains. Like it takes time and progress to do it. Like, because even patience is painful, right? It's like, it's right. So like when we talk about like, there's like physical pains versus emotional pains, I was like, that's progress in itself, but that on the other side of any pain is like there's relief. That's probably like the one thing that I took away from like going to a Christian church, like at any point in time in my life, was that after pain is relief. And so that there has to be like, that balance. But what I wanted to share was, so I've recently gotten into like trying to learn about like quantum physics because I love Apple TV series that are like interstellar traveling stuff. Professor X. But there was this new thing that's been basically being shown about like this concept of like quantum entanglement. So have you heard of Schrodinger's box?
Of course not.
Okay, so it's like the concept of like if there's a cat that's inside of a box and there is a radioactive particle and then there is like a glass, basically like what would happen if the cat dies. It's like the measurement is basically like within this box, you don't really know if the cat is dead. And I'm butchering this like reference, so please go ahead and do your own research to like understand what I'm trying to say. But there was like this image that came out about this concept of like quantum entanglement and like a superposition. And so the concept of a superposition is that you exist in multiple locations at the same time. Yeah, but it's more like dimensions. So it's, I mean, like we don't really know, I don't know the word for it in physics. It could be like dimensions. It could be like other like worlds. Like when we're talking about like traveling, right? Like traveling through space, something that has to be superposition is like it's here and there's another one of the exact same thing here. And so you would be able to move from one place to the other through like this superdisposition concept. So like so basically the concept of like this cat in the box with this radioactive stuff, is it alive or is it dead? And the idea is like it's both. You're never going to know because you can't open the box. So the concept is like that and if the radioactive chemical is in a superimposed state, then the cat is both in a live existence and also in a dead existence. So it talks about like this kind of like fragmenting of like dimensions. And that's an actual concept within physics that like things exist in, I guess, more than one place. Like we're still trying to understand those things. And this is again an amateur explanation of things that I don't understand. But I think that it's super interesting because like, you were talking about like the yin and yang, and so what they were saying is that if you were to actually look at an atom that is in a state of superdisposition, it would look like the yin and yang symbol. Like, so it's like this symbolic thing that we have seen for thousands of years through human history of the yin and yang symbol. Only now through science are we starting to recognize that through physics that something in a superimposed state would essentially look like the yin and yang. And so it's like, so I think that some point in history we probably understood this, or maybe like the symbols that we've always had have always been true to something that's much larger. But it's like, it's really interesting that like when we talk about like the balance of like good and bad, like pain and suffering, it's like it's literally built into like the science of our universe, is what I was trying to say. And a long ass tangent, that's what I was trying to say.
You know, I'm just a dumb jock. No, it makes sense.
But then I feel dumb when we talk about Muay Thai. I'm like, what's that? You know?
And this is what makes Gloves and Roses. But
yeah.
But
just random fact drop. Sorry, you don't have to respond to it any way you don't want to.
I wish I could respond to that, but like, you know, it sounds right, but also it's definitely not something that would come out of my mouth. Like, when I was a kid, though, there was this show on TV called Quantum Leap.
No. Sounds like something I'd watch, though. It's good old sci-fis.
It was a show. And like, the guy would like jump like through time, right? I didn't really watch that show, so I'm guessing. But like,
oh, okay, all right. Could be like dimensions or time. I just knew it was there.
My cousins loved that show. Okay, so like, but like, what you're saying is basically what this show was about. That's okay. On another tangent, you know what's scary to me is that things that we have now were thoughts in the past, right? Everything starts off like that. But like, I come from the days where we used to watch Saturday morning cartoons, and like the Jetsons was one of my favorite cartoons. So if y'all know what who the Flintstones are,
Jetsons.
The Flintstones were the past, the Jetsons were the future. And like,
oh yeah, I've seen those theories, yeah.
So the Jetsons, George Jetson was this schmuck that worked at like this corporate something about
cubicle
Hobbs.
Slave thing.
Yeah. Like, I just remember his boss was a really small Danny DeVito looking character.
Yeah, classic.
Was it Mr. Spacely?
That sounds right.
Oh, no, wait. No, there was a nemesis to Miss Cosmos Cogs or something. I don't know. Anyway.
I was so young, I watched that show, and I didn't even know there was a plot line. I just thought it was cool seeing all the little
You know, back in my day, cartoons were based off of somewhat of a reality, except for, like, Looney Tunes. But even then, we can get into a whole nother podcast about that.
Yeah.
But in the Jetsons, they had this dog, Astro.
Yeah.
And they didn't take him on walks because they lived in the air in this, like, basically a space condo, but it was just basically what we have now, condos, high rises.
Yeah.
But he had a treadmill. And so that was that futuristic thing back then. And then he would call his wife Jane on the TV, which is our iPhone, right? When we FaceTime.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Man, okay, I don't care. I mean, the whole point of this podcast is to talk about what makes it interesting is I'm old and she's not, and period.
No,
so
but
there was a time
Yeah.
where TVs were made, and the hottest thing about TV, and I'm talking about TVs in a box, okay? Like a wooden box with a screen, not this like thin little screen, okay? Like the biggest thing back in the day, and I was like 5 or 6 years old, maybe a little older, okay? I just, whatever. But there was a frickin' phone on the frickin' TV, like, and I remember my cousins had it, and they were like, we got the newest Zenith with the space phone. And I'm like, when are you ever going to call somebody when you're talking on TV? Yo, look, I'm not going to lie. When they put cameras on cell phones, I laughed. I was like, why would you need that? Like, you know what I mean? And here I am. By the way, I want to bring up an experience.
Yeah.
Me and my bestie went to Tropical Smoothie the other night after the gym. And this guy was really upset that his coupon was not worthy, or it expired the night of the day of the expiration date. mind you, this tropical smoothie is one of the not best locations, but like this dude was so upset that they couldn't grant him his coupon or whatnot. So he told the girl in there, mind you, it was like 10 o'clock at night, told the girl in there that I'm going to call corporate. This guy wasn't like he didn't have a tie on. It was just a Joe Schmo with a baseball cap. He might have had a t-shirt or even like a tank top on. Literally went outside into his Tesla, or outside of his Tesla, and called corporate. So, me and my friend were like, okay, whatever. We order our smoothies. We're walking out. And he says, "Why are you guys talking about me?" Like, as soon as we got out, he, like, verbally assaulted us.
Whoa.
And was like, "I know you guys are talking about me. Why are you guys talking about me?" And so, like, we were like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Yo." And
mentally unwell.
My friend is like, "You're not that important. Trust me. We weren't talking about you. What you talk about on your phone is your business." And I was just like, what? Like, so not, like, I caught off guard. Because, like, this guy just went in. And so, not to get into detail, but there was, like, verbal altercation. This guy, at one point, comes out of his car and says, "Well, I'll offer you my chin." And me and my friend looked at each other. And we kind of giggle. We giggle about it because we're like, bro, you don't know who you're messing with right now. Like, and I'm just looking at this guy like, wow, what a
beautiful red target.
No, honestly, I was like, what a joke. Like, we couldn't even, like, I honestly, and this is speaking from a person who had a lot of pent-up aggression and anger management issues in the past. Maybe if he would have said something like that to me 4 or 5 years ago, I could be doing this podcast from prison right now. I don't know. But when he did that, we laughed, and I couldn't even get myself to be upset about it, because the insecurity that this man had, to think that, the audacity to think that we were talking about him the whole time we were in Tropical Smoothie. I was like, seriously, bro? Like, it's
Crazy.
Not that serious. But anyway, he offered his chin. We did not accept the offer.
Bro.
But the whole point of the story is my friend brings out a phone and starts taking pictures or video. And not that we had to, because Teslas automatically record. So if this guy was to, like, do anything stupid, which I thought it was kind of funny that, like, not that we're, like, like, just because he's a man, you know what I mean?
Right.
But more so, like, why he chose to pick a fight with 2 girls, I have no idea. But, like,
what
dude,
a weirdo, dude.
He was freaking pissed that his coupon didn't not get, like, accepted. But anyway, he was like, "It's a rental, bitch," like, and was just like
God.
going off like, "It's a rental." But, like, my friend was like, whatever, like, like, recording it. And so the point is, it's good that we have cameras on our phones, and I should have not thought about that. Like, so anyway, this whole incident, we get in the car, and we're seriously laughing at this guy. Like, she's like, the audacity of him to think that he's that important, that we would be talking, like, nobody gives a shit. Like,
right.
she literally told him, nobody gives a F about you, bro. Like, nobody gives a F about you. And there was one point where the reason why I couldn't get mad is because one of his responses was, "There's a lot of people that care about me." And I was like, okay. And, yeah, it was a really weird experience.
Whoa.
But anyway, he calls us all kinds of names. We get back in the car, and we're sitting in the car, and we're kind of laughing at the situation. And at one point, there was something that happened where this guy was like, "Let me get the hell out of here." And so I get home, and I tell my husband, me and my friend went to, like, Tropical Smoothie, and, like, this guy did this. the first reaction my husband said was, he offered you guys his chin? And he goes, he was about to fa'afo. So fa'afo in our world is, it sounds kind of like a Polynesian, fa'afo.
It does.
But F-A-A-F-O is fuck around and find out.
Oh, okay.
He goes, he picked the wrong two women to offer his chin to. But I was like, I don't think, there was only at one point that I felt like maybe there would be a physical altercation, is because when he came out of his car, he said, I'll offer my chin to you right now, or so, in that context. And I walked up between my friend and him and was like, it's not that serious, bro. Like, what? You don't want that. It's like, not that serious.
Sir.
Yeah. But so that was my husband's first reaction. And then my husband's second reaction was, it was really smart of your friend to pull out her phone.
Yeah.
And he said, not that, he goes, not calling you guys Karens, because that's what Karens, this generation, do. Like, they're like, I'm Riz, you just offended me, and so I'm going to record you.
Yes, yeah. That's different versus like, you're two women, and here's a grown-ass man that's coming at you because his coupon's expired or something. Like, that's totally different context. Like, what is happening?
Let's remove grown, because a grown-ass man would not.
Yeah, I mean, just like even with like the difference of like sexes, I still think that if someone's a skilled fighter, regardless of the sex, versus like a not skilled fighter, I still think that there's a little bit of a gap. Especially if there's two girls against one dude. I just don't be picking fights with strangers. Like, whether you're a female or a male, don't be doing that road rage incidents, like all of that above. No.
In Vegas, you really shouldn't do that, because you just don't. First of all, there's a gym on every corner.
Mm-hmm. True.
So,
and we've got a lot of it's a pretty comfy concealed carry law and open carry.
This is the wrong place to like fa'afo.
Or even in California. Yeah, like their gun laws are stricter, but you still don't know.
You don't know anywhere.
Facts. Right, and with that, we are going to conclude episode 1 of Gloves and Roses. If you have watched our video to this point, thank you so much. Please drop a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if there's anything that you want us to talk about specifically. And don't pick fights. All right,
Don't pick
best behavior.
Be good.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Peace.
Bye.